with the bonds of Rotary between us and our worries behind us, with our goals before us and no task beyond us, with a thirst for knowledge and a dream of a polio-free world. We are thankful for our Rotary friends and the times and the sustenance we're about to share. Thank you. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in the four-way test of all the things we think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. Dwayne.
Well, we have Don Brady visiting us from Greensboro Club. And our regular visitor, Deborah Friedman from Sunday. Mike would like to introduce his guest.
Yeah, my guest is Eddie Green. I know several of you have already met him and know him. And I met him at the gym. Great guy. He's got two kids, one in the 9th and the 12th grade at Wesleyan. He's a furniture importer, and I know his wife, they live in Grandover. So please give Eddie a warm Gate City welcome.
Dale?
Okay. We don't have any birthdays this week, but we have some member anniversaries. And on today, February 1st, Dennis Marcotte is celebrating his 12th anniversary with Gate City Rotary.
All right.
And Chip Vale, I saw him earlier. He's
Up front.
26 years.
All right.
And on the 7th, Randy Elliott will be celebrating his 10th anniversary with Gate City Rotary. And we have one wedding anniversary. Chuck and Sandy Langdon. Today is their anniversary.
Good deal. Thank you, Dale. Announcements?
Good morning, everybody. This Saturday, World of Beers, 8:30. We're going to do street clean. No, the 10th. Excuse me, next Saturday. We're going to be doing a street cleanup and participating in the Greensboro White Ball winter something or another, catching grade, whatever. But we're going to wipe it out this week. So I'll sit out another side of Genius.
All right.
Yeah.
Deal.
I'm not still. I'm just.
Chip?
Past president grants, time to get your grants in is done. It's closed, all right? I think we have 12 requests. I got to put them all together. I've been drinking out of a fire hose for about 2 weeks now. There's a chance to get them coagulated and have a meeting, but we'll do that with past presidents, and we'll let you know the results as soon. But thank you all for getting those requests in.
I was wondering about it.
I was wondering about it too, Ralph.
Yeah. Any other announcements? All right. Favorite Day in Rotary is having new members join us. So, Rob, you could we could have Mark and Rick come forward,
As well as their sponsors. I first ask that our sponsors introduce our new members to the club and tell us a little bit about it.
My sponsor's Mark Littrell. Known Mark a long time. Our daughters started playing soccer together. We're neighbors. He's a very sharp businessman. Played football at Vanderbilt. I know that's tough sometimes for football season. He and his wife have a real estate team with Alan Tate, and his wife Kim and their daughter work together with him. He's going to be a great asset to the club. He already does a lot of things in Greensboro. He's spends a lot of time making our city a better place to live.
Rick Martin, I think a lot of you already know Rick. He's a former Rotarian in the Crescent Club. And I found out, we go to the same gym, I found out that Rick was not in Rotary, and I said, this is not right. You must be a Rotarian. And so Rick has agreed to join our club. I've known him for years. He was with the OAT&T, does a lot of communications type stuff.
Right.
And
Working
so-
with cloud services now, Amazon Web Services.
And so we want to welcome Rick. I understand he does a mean brisket, so whenever when we get to...
How do you think we got him through the board?
So y'all please welcome Rick. He's going to be a great member, no doubt about it.
Thank you, Governor Conrad. Well, Gate City Rotary was founded in 1991, now nearly 27 years ago, with an idea towards contributing our time, talent, and service to the service of others in the community and around the world. And it is our pleasure at this time to welcome both Rick and Mark as the latest members of Gate City Rotary. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and our members, gentlemen, we sincerely welcome you here. Our welcome is not only in anticipation of the good fellowship we'll share with you here on Thursday mornings, and during social outings, we welcome you also for your strong arms and sturdy back, which will help us carry out the many service projects which, in a small yet significant way, make our community, our country, and our world a better place for all to live. Now, for all here, Rotarians and non-Rotarian alike, let's be reminded of these important things. First, Rotary is not a political organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity, and we are all vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Additionally, Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe they have a responsibility to help others. And third, Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages, as well as for the foundation of our own great country. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people, pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the common banner of service. So at this time then, I would like for all of us present gathered here to stand. I hereby deliver the following charge. You, Mark and Rick, have been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Gate City. Your sponsor and fellow members believe you to be the leaders in your special lines of work, and that you embody the qualities of head and heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are the representative of your vocation to this club. At the same time, you now become an ambassador of Rotary. We rely upon you to carry the principles and ideals of service to those with whom you work. In turn, and additionally, we expect you to help inspire us, your fellow Rotarians, to become better members. And you are now about to be presented with the distinguishing lapel pin of a Rotarian, and it is our hope you will wear it proudly for others to see. Also included will be your official certificate of the four-way test, which you have seen we recite each morning to commence our meetings, and the other packets and indicia of membership. Now allow me at this time to extend a welcome on behalf of our club with the warm right hand of fellowship. Welcome. Thank you.
I don't want to cut it, made it easy for
Hope they have to demonstrate the Rotary handshake first.
And the sign.
That was supposed to be a secret deal.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
We'll turn that in. That'll be easy.
All right, good to be accessible. You know it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sorry about the noise in the background, guys. All right, let's see. Feels like it's been one of those mornings. So let's, the Rotary feud this morning, I got a good one for us. Yeah, this is gonna be in honor of all those folks that aren't here. Let's do the Abram family and the Person family. All right, and the question is name something or a reason that makes it hard to get out of bed in the morning, and let's add on that for Rotary. So, Wayne, you hear the question? Name something or a reason that makes it hard to get out of bed in the morning. For Rotary. Do you want to pass or play? All right, we'll play. There's 6 answers. Start us off, Wayne. I thought about that last night when I was looking at this, and it's not there, so. Very surprised. Whoever's ready to go. That might be in the same category, but that would be a. Quick question.
It's cold.
Number 4.
It's cold in the bedroom.
Well, actually, I was calling that a
But
cold
what was
being
number
cold.
4 after we didn't hear it?
Anything, something else, Mr. Brady?
Saying it's cold. The weather.
All right, ding, ding, ding. We'll give them that. No, you don't actually. I'm gonna let you pass, because when I say cold, I'm thinking instead of it being cold.
I said I'm sick.
There isn't a sick. That's what I'm saying. I'm letting y'all one. Just so you can stay in the game. I would say that's upset stuff. Is that your answer? All right. Give it to them. And make that third one loud. All right, y'all got a lot of answers. You got 5 opportunities here.
Well, I got over here fast.
The last answer on the board.
It's dark.
All
right.
All right, here are the answers. The obvious are you're tired. That's why you snore in bed. The rain can keep you in the bed. Comfort. And then weather, which can be right, give you credit either way. So, congratulations. All right, Buster.
Oh, that's $1. That's what I'm talking about. Still giving.
I got 2 happy dollars. It's been a while. No, they're good.
Right exchange rate.
My first happy dollar is that about a month ago, Sue had shoulder surgery, and as of yesterday, I've been released from my chauffeur duties. The other happy dollar is that I'm chairing the audit and stewardship committee for the district, and Gigi Renault has agreed to be my co-chair starting next year. So thank you, Gigi.
Good deal.
I got about 3. I got 2 grandkids get accepted to Carolina, they're gonna go.
All right.
And I got a 3rd granddaughter, homecoming queen at the day school. So,
All right.
And Don, you got a daughter-in-law that got a great award too.
Oh yeah, daughter-in-law got the Athena Award for the city of Greensboro. Brent can tell you about that. But yeah, outstanding.
Wow.
Outstanding what, Brent? Outstanding lady or?
Outstanding lady. Well, it could be a
Really outstanding citizen.
citizen. Correct.
Yeah, that's right, Louise. I'm sorry, I forgot. That's correct. Sorry, Louise.
Billy looks good. So this weekend I got down in Charleston finally to pick up an inflatables business that I bought. I'm going to run it as like a side business. So there's a bounce house and a dry slide and a really tall wet slide. We had it at my son's birthday. And it was harder to get the adults off of it at the end of the day than it was.
Let's have a 505.
So No, it was raining the entire way up. I white knuckle drove it, but I've got it here. So if anybody needs a bounce house or a slide, let me know. I'd also love the opportunity.
Pigsty.
Yeah.
Let me check my insurance.
I'd love the opportunity if there's a Rotary function or something that's going on where a bounce house would make sense, then let me know, and I'd love the opportunity to donate it to the town as well.
All right, I'm going to do my 505 just because this fits in here. Y'all got to try a business journal. Anybody get that?
Oh, yeah.
Largest third-party logistics company, Lewis Logistics, went from like 22 on the list last year to 13 this year. And 13 may not sound like much, but the top ones are UPS, FedEx. Wow. I mean, it's really, John Worth, the owner of the company, he brings in the business, but this is the man that has basically, the company's tripled in size. And so now he goes and buys a daggum bounce house.
He's just throwing his wealth around
it's beyond my comprehension.
You don't reckon he's trying to send a message to you, do you?
Yeah, that's right. This was way easier than you made it seem. But it's just a great testimony to the whole organization now. It basically tripled in size in less than a year, which makes me feel kind of bad. But anyway, it's really pretty cool, and you just watch. You're gonna watch it go up over the years. So anyway, Chip.
Yeah, I have a quick Otto story. Already mentioned it to Mike. In case your dog ever happens to eat the entire family-sized bag of cough drops at the same time, the Ricola all naturals did not kill him. Mike says it was probably the bag that did the worst, but all Otto did was sleep all day and he hadn't coughed in a week. It didn't take long to eat them. The other thing is, the rest of that $5 is for enduring gratitude. A lot of y'all have donated. Several of you have volunteered. That is this Saturday. It's going to be cold as the dickens. But those wounded veterans are going to be out there. There'll be at least 100, maybe 115, 120. We have room for more volunteers. We always have room. We're about $15,000 short of our goal. It's all paid for by donations, and the budget's about $50,000. So any help, and thank you all who have helped, and hopefully some of y'all will come out. I will tell you this, when the wife of a veteran or a veteran comes up to you and they have tears in your eyes thanking you for what you did for them today, you'll know you did the thing right out of the park. So please join us if you will, and thank you for your help.
So Grandpappy, he said, Facebook is a lot like prison. He said, you sit around, you waste time all day, you have a profile picture, you write on walls, and you're constantly being poked by guys you don't really know.
Chipper, will you send out on email with the where to mail a check if someone wants to support Enduring Gratitude?
Sir,
Just a reminder. That's right on top of us. So I'm looking for Bobby. I don't see him. He has no idea how difficult this was. This is a pretty impressive feat, and it's a special day at Gate City Rotary. To my knowledge, we have never had back-to-back programs presented by a Christensen. Brent last week, Bobby Christensen and Chris Justice presented our program. This week it's Brent Christensen. No relation, I guess, but I hate that Bobby's not here. He has no idea how hard this was. Brent, we're glad to have you here. Brent is the president and CEO of the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, and that's a position he's held since June of 2015. And in that role, he oversees the lead economic development efforts for the Chamber, Launch Greensboro, and Action Greensboro. Before coming to Greensboro, Brent spent some time in Mississippi. For 3 years, he operated or ran the Mississippi Development Authority, which is an economic and business development organization, the lead economic and business development, community development organization for the state. And oversaw those efforts. Prior to that, he was in Gainesville, Florida, serving as the president and CEO of the Gainesville Area Chamber of Commerce. One special distinction there is that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, during his tenure, accredited the Gainesville Chamber with its 5-star rating, which is the highest rating they bestow, and places the Gainesville Chamber in the top 1% nationwide of chambers of commerce. Brent's going to present today to us on the mega site and that experience, and maybe a vision for where we go from here. Please welcome Brent Christensen.
Do I need that thing? Can you all hear me back there? I don't know. I'm not good at standing at podiums. So let me start. And what I'm going to do is, you all get me in an interesting time because we're right in the middle of a fundraising campaign for our economic development efforts. So we're a chamber and economic development organization combined. In other communities, Winston-Salem, they're separate. There's no right or wrong way to organize your business community. It's just different for each community. And so, Chamber of Commerce, you all have memberships in. Economic development, you fund through 5-year campaigns. And so we're right in the middle of one. Actually, we're starting to wrap up. It's a $10 million goal. We're at about $9.2 million now, hoping to wrap that up very soon. And we have 4 real goals to it. And I'm going to go through those really quickly, because I know everybody wants to talk about the mega site instead of this. But I want to talk to you all about this because it's a good foundation setting for what we do in terms of economic development. So the first pillar of what we're doing with what we call our GROW campaign, and GROW doesn't stand for anything fancy other than we need to grow. We weren't creative enough to come up with some acronym that, like Greensboro really ought to win. We weren't that crazy. And so our first pillar is creating quality jobs. 7,500 new jobs, jobs that we directly impact over the next 5 years and $500 million in investment. How do you do that? You do that in 1 of 3 ways. You recruit new companies to your community. You help the ones that are already in your community expand. And quite often, the competitive nature of a project like that is just as competitive as having to recruit a new one. So when Ecolab decides that they want to expand, or their company's going to expand, and now you're competing with locations in Ecolab worldwide for that expansion. So very competitive there as well. And then the third way you do that is you work with entrepreneurs in your community to connect them with the resources that they need in order to grow a company and put down deep roots in your community. So 3 strategies for that. We're doing each one of those. I'm talking fast because we're going to get to the good part next. Talent and workforce development. Don knows this very well. You're not going to be able to do that 7,500 new jobs if you don't have the workforce to be able to fill those jobs. When I first got started in this business 30-some years ago, the first thing out of folks' mouths was, what are you going to give me to come to your community? Meaning, it was the height of the incentive game. Right? Alabama had just put Mercedes there. They'd given them an incentive package that was, at that time, unheard of, and everybody wanted that part now. Now, the first thing out of folks' mouths are you going to have a ready-made workforce for me on day one? Am I going to be able to get the people that I need? I know that my business is only as good as the people that are there. And now it's not just day 1, it's day 500, it's day 5,000, it's day 10,000, because these companies are making not 1 day, not 1 year, not 5-year decisions, but 10, 20, 30-year decisions. And so we're working on talent and workforce development. We've got a study out there in the field right now to tell us where there might be some gaps. We know where some of them are. We're hoping to uncover a few. But really what we want to know is, where's our workforce now? Where does it need to be in 5 or 10 years? And how are we going to get there? And to do that, you've got to align the business community, the education community, and the workforce community. Sounds easy. Not that easy. And really, you got to work a triad wide, because everybody comes from all over the triad, right, to work in your community. So just because you're in Greensboro doesn't mean you're only going to have a workforce from Greensboro. You're going to have a workforce from 30 or 40,000 around, and that's all of the triad. So working hard on that particular item as well. Third, and this is again part of our strategy. This speaks to those entrepreneurs starting and growing our own. So the goal here is 200 new companies created over the next 5 years, $2.5 million raised for new ventures, and then a special category up there for our minority businesses. We have some strong minority businesses in this community. We know we have some companies in this community that have a goal in mind of the amount of business they want to do with a minority business, whether that be 10%, 20%, whatever it is, like a VF, right? And so what we're saying to them is, if you've got that box that you want to check and that goal that you want to meet, please look here first. Rather than calling Atlanta or Chicago or LA or wherever it is that you look to for those minority business opportunities, look here first. And let's keep some of that money home. The other one is that $2.5 million raised for new ventures. We know we've got a gap in the spectrum of needs of entrepreneurs for money. So when they run out of the 3 F's, everybody know what the 3 F's are in terms of fundraising? Friends, family, and fools. So when they run out of money in those 3, and they're not bankable yet, Chip, and they're not venture capital ready yet, they need $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 to get their product or service to market. They've got to find some place to have that. This is what you call a seed fund. And so we need to do that, because otherwise there's another community that's going to have that for them and probably take them away from us. And so we've got to have all those opportunities in our spectrum in order to keep those entrepreneurs here. Last but not least, marketing and communication. Marketing and communication, we know that quite often we live in the shadows of Raleigh and Charlotte. And we've got to get out from under that shadow. We've got to tell our story. We've got to tell our story to the world. We've got to do that on a regular basis. And so our goal here is to be in 8 to 10 national and regional publications annually, helping our local employers create or recruit new talent to this area, launching a Young Professionals Ambassador Program. Don and I were talking this morning already about leadership in this community and growing future leaders. We need to look to that young professionals area in order to grow those leaders as well. So 4 pillars of this plan going forward. Again, like I said, we're getting to the end of our campaign. Hopefully we'll reach that $10 million goal. I can tell you, we haven't stopped working on this sort of thing. This is what we do on a regular basis in economic development. All right, I am at 7:44, so I've got 15 minutes now that we've laid that foundation to answer any question that you all might have. And so I'm going to just throw the floor open to questions that you all might have about what we do and what we've been doing in economic development. Who's starting?
I'll start.
Start.
How do we appeal to industries that we want to attract to this area? Are we attending their trade shows to raise our profile, or what are we doing?
Okay, that's a great question. So his question is, how do we appeal to industries, businesses that we would like to see come to our community, right? And so that's the recruitment side of things. And so there's really 2 ways that we go about that. One, we deal an awful lot with what are known as site selection consultants. And so if there's a large project out there, and let's just take Toyota Mazda for example, right? So Toyota Mazda that we just read all about had a site selection consultant out of Chicago, Jones Lang LaSalle. They went to them and said, look, you help us analyze all of the opportunities that we have out there in the United States and in the world, and tell us where we ought to be focused in on. And so we go visit with those folks on a regular basis to make sure that we're at the top of mind. They know what's going on in our community. They know that we've got a mega site. They know that we've got a new building that's on the market. They want to know because it helps them help their clients find the best spot for them. So that's one way we do it. And then the second way is we go straight to the companies, whether it be at a trade show, whether we go visit with them directly. And so, we went a couple of years ago and visited with Amazon in Washington, D.C., just because we knew there might be an awful lot of things going on with Amazon over the next few years. Well, little did we know there was an HQ2 on the horizon, but they're constantly expanding, whether it be with warehouse and distribution, whatever it may be. And so you've got to get to the folks who either go to the end user or you go to the folks who the end user might use for a site selection search. It's really the basic marketing. And so earlier this week, I got to drive to Greenville, South Carolina, where there happened to be 3 or 4 site selection consultants, and talk to them about our mega site, and talk to them about, yes, we're fortunate enough to get Toyota Mazda, but we did about 5 years of work in 5 months. And so last year, when we visited with these same consultants, we were talking to them about the mega site, and as we left their offices this week, they said, it's not the same site anymore. I mean, we're amazed at how much work you were able to do. Well, the crucible of a big project like Toyota Mazda will make you do things. Make you do some extraordinary things and make you do them really fast. And so we have what we believe now is the best mega site in the world for a manufacturer at this point. And that's a great thing. That's a silver lining that you get to something like a Toyota Mazda. Yes, sir.
Brent, I've got two questions. First of all, as we're recruiting people to come to Greensboro, you had a great gig in Mississippi. So I guess the question is, and you may have addressed this at the time, I think maybe you did, but just to articulate that, what was it about Greensboro in this region that attracted you to bring you here? What were the challenges that you saw, and what were the opportunities that you saw you could bring in?
It's a great question. So I had a good gig. I worked for, I'll tell you part of what I loved about my job. I worked for the governor of Mississippi, so I had one boss. And then the flip side of that was I had 200 some people across the street who all thought they were my boss. That's the legislature. And so sometimes you didn't get to do as much economic development work as you wanted to do, trying to navigate that political structure. But that's all right. But what I loved about Greensboro was, and what I saw was the opportunity to get back into the trenches in local economic development. Be able to work a project from start to finish. In the state economic development organization, you kind of parachute in the middle and say, what can we do to help? And what I saw in Greensboro was a tremendous potential to succeed with folks who are willing to take big risks to be able to get big rewards. And so the mega site's a pretty big risk. I mean, let's think about 1,800 acres that took 3 years to get all under control, all knowing that we've got the workforce, we've got the skills, we've got the talent, whatever you want to call it, to feed whatever would go there. And I'll tell you, in the Toyota Mazda deal, the very first visit they made, we helped them analyze the labor market here. We had local employers come in and talk to them about their own experiences. I mean, it was a good labor market visit. We never were asked another question about the labor market. So they were convinced that they were going to find what they needed here in this particular region, and that's great. Some of the challenges are, and especially right now, is we've got to have some more of those sites. We've got a big home run site, but we've got to have some single and double sites. And so, right now, building inventory's down, site inventory's down, and so one of the things we've got to do is make sure that you're thinking, again, 5 years out, that you don't run out of your product, right? Much the same way any business is always making sure that they've got good inventory, we've got to start looking for a product. Yes, sir.
Brent, for those who were not at the chamber dinner last week, it was kind of amazing comments that, and I'm sorry I can't remember her name, but
Meredith O'Connor.
Meredith O'Connor made about Greensboro. Could you share that, what was said there? And please, you need to toot your own horn on her comments about what you guys did to get the mega site identified, because they obviously didn't know about it until you guys made a trip to Chicago.
Yeah, so, and so that's one of those trips, Chip, that we're talking about. So we went to Chicago so Meredith O'Connor, when I said there was a site location consultant, Jones Lang LaSalle, Meredith was the lead one. She was nice enough to come to our annual meeting last week and really kind of pump us up and say, look, keep the I think the line was keep the champagne cold because your day's coming. And I think they realized that how neck and neck this process was. When you get down to 1 or 2 sites, and for a big project like that, either one of them is defendable. Either one of them is defendable. And so, it's a hair's breadth of how you missed out. But she said, and alluded to a visit about a year ago now, where we went to Chicago, couldn't get her on the phone. Finally, with little time left before we had to go get on a plane, she said, come by and let me see you. And we brought all the mega site materials with us. And she had just learned that week that she had gotten this project and said, I can't believe how unbelievable your timing is, because we didn't know about your site, but we've got this project and it's ready to go. And so that's how we originally got on their radar screen, was just by paying a visit. And you know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because that was pretty dang lucky at that point. You know, what we found along the lines is we had a site that was somewhat ready, and in 5 months we're really ready. And so that's the site that they ultimately chose in Huntsville, Alabama. For those of y'all who don't know, was the runner-up for the Volkswagen plant that wound up in Chattanooga about 10 years ago. And so they had a 10-year head start on us. And we had to run like heck to catch up to them. And we did. I mean, we caught them. And they pulled away a little bit at the end, and that's frustrating. But all that running that we did is going to pay dividends going forward. And that was kind of the message the other night. Yes, sir.
In your mind, what was the deciding factor or factors, and what can we do to make sure that, or so we show ourselves better next time?
Yeah, great question. I think that, in a word, flat. That Alabama side is flat as a pancake. Our site's got little hills to it, a little bit of hills. And so what we were asking a client to do was, in their mind, see a flat site when they couldn't see a flat site. And that's hard for us as human beings to see something that's not there. And so how do we do that? And so in the future, I think part of what we need to talk about, what we've already started talking about, is do we start selectively clearing the site and grading it a little bit so that you can see that? And so, you know, I think ultimately their mind's eye of when they stood on that site in Alabama and did this, and it's a cotton field that's flat, and they said, we can do this site a lot faster than we can do the site in North Carolina. And that, I think, is ultimately what I mean, I know I keep reading about supplier networks and that sort of thing, and I get that. But supplier networks are specific to a company, not to a complete industry. And so, you know, we've got 200 automotive suppliers in the state of North Carolina. So to completely dismiss that, I think is foolish. Now, that said, this doesn't have to be an automotive site. What we've always talked about is this is an advanced manufacturing site. And so anybody who has a need for 1,800 acres that's going to put, you know, $500 million to $1 billion into it, that's going to employ 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 folks, that's who we're after. And, you know, just pulling a number out of thin air, I mean, if there are 10 projects like that every year, and 1 or 2 of them are automotive, why would you limit yourself to those 1 or 2? We want to see all 10 of them. And that's what we're out there after. So I think what we've learned is let's just keep making that site better and more shovel ready every day. And eventually, and that's exactly what Alabama did. They lost, and I'm sure they went through the same emotions we did, right? Because I first was shocked, and then I was disappointed, and then I was pissed, and then it just, all that turns into determination of making sure that we don't come in second again. And we won't, because we'll do everything we can to make that happen. Yes, sir.
Two questions. When you're talking with businesses, what do they consider to be our community's greatest attributes, and what areas do they see as the ones being the most important?
I think that they see the attributes, this area's legacy in manufacturing, and the skill set here, and our ability to produce that type of workforce for them. I mean, we're in a pretty good spot in the middle of the state of North Carolina, and so everything that comes with North Carolina, we're a pretty dang good business state. And so all of that comes into play. I think what worries them is what worries everybody, and this is a nationwide thing, is how do you keep that pipeline of workforce going, especially in manufacturing, where we have in this country, not just this state, not just this region, I think become very focused on making sure that everybody goes to college, even those who don't need to go to college, right? And so if we're going to be a manufacturing community, we need to celebrate that. And to be honest with you, I hate to say it, I think it's lazy for us to just say everybody ought to go to college. I think that's it's just the easiest way to push folks in that direction. We need to do a better job of making sure everybody knows there are great jobs available in manufacturing. Well, I remember, I told you I worked for a governor. I remember standing in the audience when 4 governors were on stage doing all their bragging points about their state, and one of the governors, who shall remain nameless, said, under my tutelage, the state's enrollment in universities has increased by 50%. Everybody clapped, isn't that great, isn't that wonderful? And we got backstage, and one of the other governors walked up to him and said, Governor, that is a great talking point, and I really am happy for you, and congratulations. He said, but here's the other side of that. How have your graduation rates improved? And he kind of turned away. One of the aides said, go find that number. Well, they hadn't improved at all. So now what you've got is folks who are leaving a college or university feeling like failures and in debt, who didn't need to be there to begin with. And we need to have that conversation, I think, in this particular area, in this particular community, about how we keep that from happening. Yes, sir.
Tom Richardson might have something to contribute on this, but how important are what I would call trade schools, trade education?
We're opening the Center for Advanced
Yeah,
Manufacturing.
yeah, exactly right, exactly right. So GTCC is building a Center for Advanced Manufacturing. We can't wait for it to open, because that facility, when we have prospects in town, will be one of our guaranteed stops, right? Because you want to walk them through and say, here's where we're going to train your workforce, and oh, by the way, take a look at what's going on in this room and all the skills that we're teaching here, and take a look at what's going on in this room. So great opportunity there, and that they're incredibly important. They're incredibly important. We, along the big projects like a Toyota Mazda, one of the incentives that was in the package was, we will build you a training facility on site. Golden Leaf will put the money up to build a training facility on site, but that company's not going to run it. Randolph Community College is going to run it, right? So those having a strong community college system in your area is very, very important along those lines. You see a hand over here? And
Somebody called me the other day and said they saw the CEO of Volvo made a comment at one of the economic forums about investing a couple $1 billion in the United States. Is that something that you guys are
We're tracking
hot on
all
the
of
trail?
those.
Yeah.
We're tracking all of those. We're making sure that we go visit with the consultants and with the end users as well. So we're tracking all that and trying to get on their calendars to visit with them about the site. I mean, the ultimate thing is you'd like for the end users to know about you, and even if they hire a consultant, they say, well, we're going to hire you, but Greensboro needs to be on that list because we know all about it. Right? That's the ultimate, is that everybody knows about this site and is going to come take a look at it. Where am I? 8 o'clock.
Yes,
On the button. How about that? How about that? Thank you all for your time. I love coming to Rotaries because y'all are so positive and so wonderful. And thank you for having me this morning. And we'll just keep plugging away. But thanks for your support.